I left America with my family of 7 in 2019. Today we're going to talk about what moving to Europe can and cannot fix about your life. This one may be a long one, so if you want to join me with a cup of tea, I think I'm going to answer some of the questions that I think a lot of moms have as they are considering whether they need to leave. And they're wondering, like, is this actually going to make my life easier, or is it going to make it more stressful, because the unknown tends to be overwhelming and stressful. So I'm speaking to you if you are considering a move to Europe. This is going to be a breakdown of what has actually mattered to me in my daily life experience, and why, even though the stresses of my life aren't gone, I prefer it here. And I'm just going to be really honest today about my experience living out of the US for most of the last 7 years and living in Europe the last 5 years in 2 different countries. This topic came up for me when I was chatting with a friend, and I was just like, I'm so tired. I'm trying to make sure that I'm consistently posting on my YouTube channel, and I'm not actually getting a lot of sleep right now, and it's been raining for a month, which is, we have rainy season here. That does happen, but this has been the most dramatic one since we've moved here to Portugal. So it's been really draining. I've been single parenting while my husband is away for a couple months for work. And so I was just like, oh my gosh, trying to keep doing life while the world just feels like it's on fire is really a lot. So if you're feeling that and you're wondering, okay, well, Andy, if you are experiencing the exhaustion that I'm experiencing in the States, why would I move out of the States? So that's what I want to address with you today, because I absolutely am glad that I live here in Europe, specifically in Portugal. And I also just want to be real with you that, some things will be better, some things will be more stressful. But for me, when it all shakes out, I like the stresses here better. And some of them are just my life is stressful as a mom of 5. So obviously that's not going to change. This whole conversation reminds me of this really funny Adam Sandler skit where he was a travel agent to Italy, and he's like talking to his customers, and he's like, you need to understand that you're still going to be you. So like, sad you in America is still sad you in Italy. And I was just thinking of that for today, because your problems don't go away when you move to Europe. However, they change, and there's no perfect anything. There's no perfect country. There's no perfect school. There's no perfect job. Like, there's pros and cons to everything, right? But there's the downsides that you can live with. And so I want to help you understand today what has been easier and has helped me live with some of the downsides. So, number 1, living in Europe does not fix the fact that I am tired right now because I'm solo parenting. Andrew actually doesn't travel that much for work, but this time it's a 2-month stint, and it's intense, right? And the way that we usually divide things, he's the morning person with the kids and I'm the evening person. So like, both of us get enough sleep. And that means that right now I'm sort of burning the candle on both ends. That's not something that has anything to do really with Europe. But basically what I want to say about this is the things that are stressful and hard about your life, with your kids, with your work, these things that don't change, that move with you to Europe, those things are still going to be there. However, the trade-off for me here has been that my nervous system is at rest here much more frequently than it was in the States. So yes, I still am parenting kids with higher needs. Yes, I am still working hard on my business. However, before, when I was living in the States, all of those things were still true. And yet I was always at this like heightened nervous system state in America. I felt underwater. I was exhausted by the pace of life. I was exhausted by the injustice and how that interplays with my multiracial family and the things that I was concerned about. I was exhausted by the politics, which, like, now the politics have taken over everything. You can't get away from those in the States, nor would I want to. Right now is a time to be engaged. But like all of those things in the States meant that my nervous system was frequently going like vacillating from fight, less fight for me, freeze, fawn, fight, flight, lots of flight, lots of flight. I sort of survived by traveling and by having like travel to look forward to, because I felt so much more alive. I felt so much more regulated outside of the States. So I guess what I want to say is, yes, my life is still tiring and intense because of the way that my family is put together. And yet my nervous system is much more regulated here. The whole level of like, it like really has come down to normal, calm life here. And that is something that I don't want to trade back. I really, really like having a nervous system that's not just completely provoked all the time. Provoked. My nervous system was provoked. Okay, I don't know if that's the right word to use, but yeah, I was sort of in an elevated state a lot in the US just by the sheer fact of how the systems worked and the fact that I didn't feel like my family was safe and supported. And that was before it's even gotten the way that it is now. I was feeling that way in 2016, 17, 18. So all the more now. Another thing that moving abroad can't fix is your mental health entirely. I still struggle with anxiety. I have not actually struggled with depression since we left the States. In the States, my anxiety turned into depression because it was like just out of control. And so my anxiety that was always there like got elevated enough that I hit the wall and it turned into depression. I've not had that issue since I've lived abroad. I've definitely had stress. I've definitely had anxiety. It's not easy. Like all the processes and everything that you need to figure out, those are not easy things. And they can cause some anxiety, especially when you really want this to work out and you really don't want to move back. There's just a level of anxiety anytime that you have something you really want to work out and you're not sure, like, can I make this happen? And our move abroad has been very, very bumpy in a lot of ways. And I was able to think creatively and strategically and make a plan and keep going. But that is a level of anxiety. If you're needing to pivot, that hasn't gone away. Like if you're needing to strategize about what country is going to work for us, or is there a residency path that will work for us? I'll talk about this in another video, but we had our plans like come crashing down multiple times, and I'm the visionary, I'm the dreamer, and so I came up with a new plan and we pivoted in did the next plan. So that's part of what my experience has been living abroad, because I want to stay abroad. I love living abroad. But that does mean that there is a level of anxiety. It comes and goes, usually related to timing for residency card renewals or timing of making a new plan and going to a different country. So anyway, that is just part of my own experience living here and pivoting through different countries. However, while I have anxiety, one of the best things that I have learned to do to manage my anxiety is something that I call finding the beauty. Some people call these micro joys. Some people call this counterweights. Shout out to Shannon Martin with her upcoming book. Some people call them glimmers. I call it find the beauty, and it's a strategy for getting really focused on what is good and beautiful in the world when I am at risk of being overwhelmed. So like sometimes I look really closely at my plants, or sometimes I go for a walk, like a find the beauty walk, and then I just try and notice what beauty is in the world. That is easier for me to do here. Part of it is the climate, though, as I mentioned, it's been raining. That's not all the time. It's very little of the time here. It's easier for me to access beauty here. I live near the ocean, which is something that financially never would have been a possibility for us in the States. Instead of taking a night away at a random hotel in the suburbs, surrounded by strip malls, I take a night away now in Lisbon, which is delightful for my beauty-loving heart and my artist's heart and my picture-taking love. So I think the access here to so many like new to me, beautiful, interesting places and things, like it's just a lot prettier here as a general rule than it is in America. So for my beauty-loving heart, being here, that's absolutely been something that's been fixed in me, just access to beauty. Another thing that has really helped me manage my anxiety living here is the fact that I have more emotional capacity. And I think emotional capacity for me has come being able to go outside and be close to nature and live near the ocean and live in a place where I think the buildings are prettier than strip malls. So part of that has been what's helped, but the other part of it that's helped is what I was mentioning about my nervous system. I definitely feel a huge difference in my nervous system being regulated here in Portugal, especially compared to living in the States. I think that having my nervous system regulated has allowed me to have more emotional capacity. I am confident that there's brain science on that, because when your nervous system is regulated, your frontal lobe and your strategic thinking and planning, that part of your brain, your executive brain, can be online. But when your nervous system is elevated, your executive brain and your ability to plan and strategize, and also your emotional regulation, those things are all hindered when your nervous system is struggling. When your nervous system is dysregulated, those parts of your ability go offline. And then for me, having ADHD, I already struggle with executive functioning. Then having kids who struggle with executive functioning means I have to extra executive function, which is very hard as somebody with ADHD. And so like it just left me very low emotional capacity in the States. And so especially for people, for parents, and just people who are neurodivergent, I think that there will be a relief to being in a place that feels much more regulating for your nervous system. I think that that will open up so many things for you: creativity, emotional capacity, the ability to strategize and plan and look forward to the future instead of just like sort of surviving. So that's been a huge, huge difference for me here. I am 44, so that means one more thing that moving abroad cannot fix is that I am in perimenopause. That is challenging at the best of times. I know for a lot of you, I'm just hearing online, like, why in the world does like parenting teenagers during perimenopause, during a political zombie apocalypse, like, why is this all happening at the same time? It's very overwhelming. And so I definitely have had like the mood dysregulation, aches and pains, squeaky knees, increasing migraines, like all of those symptoms and more I've experienced. And living here doesn't fix my age and my stage in perimenopause. However, one of the things that I am doing to help is taking birth control pills to get steady estrogen instead of my estrogen just being like this every month. One of the things about living here is you don't need a prescription to get birth control from the pharmacy. So I don't know for sure if that is still the case in America, that you have to have a prescription. Here, I can just go to the pharmacy and I can fill my birth control because I'm a smart adult who can choose things like that for myself. So on the topic of perimenopause, a while ago, I did a deep dive into what can really help with perimenopause symptoms. And some of it is stuff like going for a walk, walking regularly, and to just help relieve some of the stress and the symptoms. And so for me, choosing to live in a place where I can go for walks really regularly, I can get out into nature, that has just helped my overall well-being during perimenopause. This absolutely can happen in the States, but I've also met with a psychiatrist to help me with some of my sleep stuff, because if I'm sleeping, I'm okay. And if I'm not sleeping, I'm not okay. Really, it's almost that direct and simple. So, like, since Andrew has been out of the country, I have not been sleeping well and I've been way more emotional. And then, like, my daughter moved to Minneapolis right when everything really cranked up there. So, I'm emotional about that. It's hard. I have a lot of friends who live there. So those are like just weighty realities that I know we're all dealing with. I am very thankful to be here and to have the chance to leave my house and have it be peaceful and not be worried about the things that I was worried about in America. And so, despite the changes that my body is experiencing right now, I feel like I have the tools to manage those things here just by the fact of where we've chosen to live. So I hope that gives you as a mom some clarity about what has changed, what has gotten better for me here. It's felt like it's the really essential things that matter to me. I'm Andy. I help Americans move to Europe. If you're serious about leaving the US, I will help you choose a country that's the best fit for you and create a plan so that you can stop researching and start moving. So if you need that kind of support, check out the link in my description for the Get Me Out of Here plan I will help you make. Catch me next time for some interesting stories about our plan coming crashing down and us having to pivot, and why that's actually given me great experience to help you avoid some of the pitfalls that we did not avoid. It's given me the skills to know how to pivot when issues come up. Honestly, that is the skill that you need in order to make a solid plan to live abroad in Europe. See you next time.